A.J. Brown clarified his social media post from earlier this week, and he's not going anywhere. Honestly, it's a sigh of relief, and I'll tell you why. Coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcome in, Eagles fans, to this Wednesday edition of the show. I'm your host, Louis DiBiase. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the entire app. A.J. Brown spoke today during his locker room press conference, clarifying those cryptic social media posts from after the Buccaneers game. Not only does he not want to be traded from the Philadelphia Eagles, he said that this is, quote, home, and this is where he wants to be. To be honest, that is a sigh of relief to me because unlike 2023 at the end of the season, unlike at the end of the 2024 regular season, after making that post today, or I should say earlier in the week and talking about it today, I was starting to wonder if this could be the beginning of the end. Hearing his comments after the Super Bowl about it not being what he thought it might be and wanting to dominate his craft. And then even though the Eagles are 4-0, he is extremely unhappy with his role. I started to wonder if he was reconsidering his future. I was starting to wonder if he felt like this very unique Eagles offense is a good fit for his goals long term, now that he's getting close to the age of 30. And we know that receivers and running backs, after they hit 30, like who knows how they're going to age. So a lot of you out there were not surprised at all by his clarification today about those comments. He also said, by the way, it was not directed at anybody specifically. It was not directed at Jalen Hurts, Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni. He was just voicing his frustrations, and he even said, like, it's on him that it got misconstrued and there were all these rumors and distractions this week. Like, that's his fault. And it's great to hear that he did own up to it. But I'm not going to lie, when I heard he was going to talk to the media today, I was a little bit nervous. I had no idea what he was going to say. If he was going to double down on that social media post, if he was going to kind of be, very short with the media like he was last year after the Panthers game, just saying that passing was the issue. But to hear him really dive into the issue itself and adding context to it, saying that it's not a bad thing that he wants the ball, that he feels like he's frustrated because he feels like he can help fix a struggling offense right now that's not only struggling to throw the football, but they're also struggling to run the ball. So I totally understood everything he said. And again, I totally understood his frustration from the beginning. But the issue is, yet again, as I said on the show yesterday, and what I hope is a lesson for A.J. Brown moving forward, is if you don't want to have to clarify this to the media every single time you're frustrated, if you truly want to be in Philadelphia, then I think you either keep it in-house or be very clear in your message. Now, in the heat of the moment, I understand how maybe you don't always take the right approach. I'm somebody that wears my heart on my sleeve, just like A.J. Brown, so I totally can get that and how moods can go up and down right after a game when you're pissed off. I get it, but this has happened now 3 years in a row where A.J. Brown has had other people misconstrue his message because he's not really being clear about his message, so he's allowing others to put words in his mouth until he eventually clears things up. And I think Jordan Mailata talked about how they handled it inside the house of the NovaCare complex. Jalen Hurts talked about it. Nick Sirianni, even Kevin Patullo. The more you do that and have other players and coaches answer for you, I think the more frustrated people are going to get. And you don't want to have to deal with this all the time, especially when you're already dealing with trying to fix this offense and trying to continue to win football games with a really tough schedule. So, it was great to hear that Brown does not want to leave because truthfully, I didn't know where his head was at. And it was great to hear that he owned it, like he handled this the wrong way. But he's done this now 3 times in 3 years. So hopefully moving forward, if you do want to be here, that's why I was also nervous, because A.J. Brown has been here in this exact situation before. He knows what that message was going, the way he posted that on social media, that verse about maybe not wanting to be here. He knows how that was going to get interpreted. So that's why I was like, does he still want to be in Philadelphia? He knows how this is going to be handled. He knows how this is going to be viewed. Maybe that's exactly the point, and he does want out. But if he wants to stay in Philadelphia like he says he does, this is home for him, he wants to finish his career with the Eagles, the next time, and there will be more times that he doesn't get the football. There will be more times he's probably frustrated about his role if he's going to be with the Eagles long term. Keep that thing in-house. Or if you're going to voice your frustrations, say it very clearly. Because if not, you're going to deal with this kind of circus like we've done now for a couple seasons in a row. So A.J. Brown, great to hear he still wants to be with the Eagles. He's got a very tough matchup this week against a loaded Denver Broncos defense led by the best cornerback in the NFL, Pat Surtain. But I do think they're, despite the Eagles offense being so up and down this year, and consistency is the key, finding that rhythm early on in games and maintaining it throughout both halves, throughout all four quarters, I am confident that they will find that consistency. Why? Because number one, this team really never peaks in September. Most teams don't. Number two, especially when you have a new play caller each year, you're not going to peak early on in the season. Even if Kevin Patullo is not a very good play caller, and I don't think he's going to be this year's version of Kellen Moore. I don't think he's going to turn into suddenly Shane Steichen. Even if Patullo's not great, I don't think it could get much worse. I don't think it could get much more inconsistent. And with how talented this Eagles offense is, I truly don't believe that you're going to have the low lows of that first half against the Rams and the second half against the Buccaneers all season long. They're just too damn talented. These low lows, I will not believe they're going to happen over the majority of a 17-game schedule. I won't believe it. And why I think this is going to turn around, especially with Brown being on board, is that we've seen the elite flashes the last two games against pretty good defenses in the NFC against the Rams and the Buccaneers. It's just about really putting it together for four quarters. There have been some low lows, but there have been some extremely high highs too. This offense can still do it. They can still put it all together. That second half performance against the Rams was incredible. That first half performance against the Buccaneers, that's the best Jalen Hurts has looked since Super Bowl 59. And outside of the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship, I think the first half against Tampa Bay, that version of Jalen Hurts, was as good as any Hurts performance from 2024. It's up there with, the closest ones was the Pittsburgh game and probably Cincinnati. Those were up there too, but Jalen was dialed in and had an answer for every pressure package that Todd Bowles sent his way. And they are perfect. 11 for 11 in the red zone this year. They are the 8th best team on third down. So situationally, they are really good right now. They've had some elite halves, a 21-point first half in the opener against Dallas, a 19-point second half against the Rams, a 17-point first half against the Buccaneers. Again, 41% conversion rate on third down, 8th best in football, 100% 11 for 11 in the red zone. Consistency has not been there, but I think it's going to come. I really do, and maybe it's not going to be perfect this week against a really good Denver Broncos defense, but I'm still going to take the half glass full approach. And now knowing Brown's not going to try to force his way out this year, and I truthfully didn't know how that was going to unfold, I am feeling a lot better about this offense moving forward. But they do have a big game against the Broncos. If this offense is going to get back on track, I think they really need this offensive line to bounce back. That's the key against the Broncos, and I'll tell you why coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anybody else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings that same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail. From the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery, you can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like your players, we sweat every detail at Mazda because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda. Move and be moved. Thanks as always for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. You know, obviously the Eagles getting back on track on the offensive side of the football will involve the passing game being much more consistent. I said it on the show yesterday, like a team with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert when he's healthy, which is such a big if. He missed practice again today, by the way, with that knee injury he's battling, so we'll see if he plays against Denver. But a team with that much talent, this kind of personnel on the offensive line, Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, should never have 2 games in a row where they have a -1 passing yard performance in a first half, and then the following week in the second half, you can't complete a single pass. But I will say, turning the run game around is the most important part of finding consistency in this offense. That's how you're going to solve this thing, is by sustaining drives, winning the time of possession battle. When you have leads, keeping it by not giving the other team the ball back. And the main issue to me is like, yeah, Kevin Patullo's play calling, it's not great. I'm getting really sick of the run right up the middle, 1st and 10 plays when Tampa Bay or LA have 9 guys in the box. I'm really sick of the 3rd and 10 plus cowards draw where they're just completely giving up in those long yardage situations. But I think the biggest issue with the run game on offense is that the offensive line is an issue right now. And the Eagles' offensive line is really never an issue. Right now, outside of 2020, like it's always been the strength of this football team. But as of right now, when you look at it, Landon Dickerson is fighting through an injury. Lane Johnson continues to come in and out of the lineup, and it's kind of giving me some Jason Peters end of his career PTSD. Cam Jurgens doesn't seem right either right now. I wonder if it's still from that back injury he suffered during the 2024 playoff run. They're all battling through injuries. A lot of them were suffered late at the end of last year that they weren't able to recover 100% from. Landon Dickerson still dealing with that injury from the open practice. Tyler Steen is good. I think he has the 38th highest grade among all guards according to PFF. He's got solid numbers, but he's not great like Mekhi Becton was in 2024. So you can tell that right now they haven't been able to play up to their standard because of the health and because of, I think, the limitations of one of their starters, which was not an issue last year. You're not seeing Dickerson and Cam Jurgens. Their superpower as linemen is pulling upfield. It's getting to that second and third level in the zone run scheme and taking on linebackers, tagging secondary players, getting them to the ground, allowing Saquon Barkley to spring loose. And right now, Dickerson and Cam Jurgens specifically are not being used in that way, and it's because I think they're not 100% healthy. So I'm starting to get concerned about this offensive line long term, because what is the fix? Honestly, you might have to consider, I think it's a possibility that you shut down Landon Dickerson for a little bit. And yeah, in the regular season, when every win counts, that might be a tough pill to swallow. The Eagles' offensive line depth right now is, I don't know, it's not great on the interior. I don't want Matt Pryor really playing anymore after seeing him on the field the last 2 weeks. Maybe you give Drew Kendall a chance, or, one of those other younger players. But I think that might have to be the option, is that Landon Dickerson is shut down, even though it's not ideal, for a month and a half. To get healthy, though, for the stretch run in the playoffs, I think might be the priority, kind of like it is with Nolan Smith right now. Nolan Smith was playing through that tricep injury, but it got re-injured, and he wasn't able to play at 100%. So now, yeah, it's not great that Nolan Smith is going to be out for 5 weeks, but you'd rather have 100% of Nolan Smith for the final, 10 weeks of the season. You'd rather have that, the final 10 games, including the playoffs, than have Nolan at, 70% like he was, even though he was playing really well all year, and risk a re-injury. Landon Dickerson, I don't even think he's at 70% right now. I mean, is the guy at 50 to 60% health? And if he gets re-injured, then you're in trouble for the majority of the season. And I don't think already with Tyler Steen at right guard, you can win a Super Bowl with two backups on the interior. I think you need Landon Dickerson. So, he's not really playing that well anyway because of the injury. He's giving up a lot of pressure. He's giving up sacks. Like, what's the fix to this offensive line? Number one, it's getting Lane Johnson back completely healthy. And I think it's the same thing with Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens. It's just getting those guys at 100%. So they might have to kind of, take on a little bit of water for a bit. But at 4-0, you do have a nice cushion. I think that might be an option to consider. I don't know if the Eagles will. Landon Dickerson is very tough. He's very good at playing through injuries. I feel like he's been doing it his entire career at Alabama and with the Eagles since 2021. I feel like every year, every week, the guy's limping off the field at the end of the game. But right now, the offensive line has not been great. And I think out of anything, including Jalen Hurts being a little gun-shy at times, Kevin Patullo's play calling in the passing game and in the run game, I think the offensive line not being able to open things up for Saquon Barkley is the biggest issue. And the numbers don't lie. Like, through 4 games, the Eagles are 30th in yards per game. They're 29th in yards per rushing attempt. They're 23rd in sacks allowed, and they're 23rd in first downs per game. And this team is not that great at playing behind the sticks. Like, this offensive line is key to being better on first and second down, to give them, 3rd and 5 or below. So then, you get, if you don't pick up the first down on third and 5, you set up a tush push on 4th down. The offensive line has been so instrumental in making this team what they are, which is an elite football team with the lead playing ahead of the sticks. So it's not going to be easy. The next month is going to be really tough when you look at their matchups against, opposing trenches. They play the Denver Broncos, who have one of the best defensive lines in football, especially on the edge with Cooper and, Benito. The Giants twice this month. They have maybe the best front 7 in the NFL, or at least it's top 5. And then Minnesota, Brian Flores' defense sends a lot of different pressure looks at you too. So it might be tough to shut some of these guys down, but whatever it is, you got to find a fix, because October is the easiest part of the Eagles' schedule. But for the Eagles' offensive line, it's one of the tougher stretches they have all year. So that's the big fix. It's not just obviously getting A.J. Brown the ball consistently and Devontae Smith, finding more consistency in the passing game. Kevin Patullo just not being abysmal at calling plays with passing concepts. It's just been so vanilla, so lacking creativity. But I still think the biggest issue right now is the Eagles' offensive line. And it's still, you can argue, the most talented starting offensive line in football, but it's not healthy right now. So that's the big issue. And until they get that unit on the same page, the run game and the pass game are going to be inconsistent. We'll see what happens this week against Denver, but it's a really tough matchup, and they got to win that battle if they want to win this football game for sure. Denver is number 1 in the league right now in sacks. Their run defense is not great, though, so this could be a get-right game for Saquon. The offensive line, though, that they've got to play more in unison as well. They got to play with more rhythm. Mailata suggested on his show earlier this week that maybe getting to the line of scrimmage faster will help, breaking the huddle quicker so they can break down the opposing defense. Whatever it is, we're not used to the Eagles' offensive line playing like this. It's simply put, it's got to be better. All right, guys, coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast, Nakobe Dean returned to practice in limited fashion on Wednesday. And I think actually the Eagles should consider trading him. I'll tell you why coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, and when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel like you're in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted some subscriptions that I wasn't even using. Canceling those alone save me money pretty much every month. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use our code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off at your first year of monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNFL. Thanks as always for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. We are wrapping up this Wednesday edition of the show. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Eagles on all podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. We've still got 2 more shows for you this week. Crossover Thursday tomorrow with the guys over at Locked On Broncos. Got a show for you Friday too. And then, of course, right after the game, Sunday, Eagles-Broncos at 1 p.m. We'll have my 30-minute post-game show and then the post-squad show as well with myself, Jason Martius, and Harry Mays. So when you add those 2 shows on top of our other 2 live squad shows throughout the week for an hour long, we're posting like 8 to 9 podcasts a week. So again, subscribe on all audio platforms that you listen and also on YouTube as well. So some injury news to get into today. Nakobe Dean has returned to the practice field in limited fashion. The Eagles did activate his 21-day practice window today from being on the PUP list for the first month of the season. And while it's great to have a leader like Nakobe back on the field, he adds great depth to this linebacker room that's already pretty deep. He was one of their best, most underrated players on that 2024 roster on defense. I do think with all that being said, the Eagles should consider trading Nakobe Dean. And let me tell you why. There's a couple different reasons. Number one, he's not getting his starting job back. Jihaad Campbell is the defensive rookie of the year favorite right now. He was your first round pick this year. He is the future at inside linebacker. You can make the argument he's won you 2 of your 4 games. Like, he had the turnover in the second half against Dallas that kept that lead. He had 2 key turnovers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week that held off that Tampa Bay comeback. Campbell is being used in so many ways. He's been an elite coverage linebacker, which honestly shocks me. That was the one part of his game I thought would take a little bit longer to develop. He's been a good pass rusher as a blitzer, a good run setter on the edge, and he's just been an incredible player in the middle of the field, coming downhill, working through the mud, getting interceptions, forcing fumbles. It's unfortunately the rough reality of the NFL because Nakobe Dean did nothing wrong. Nakobe Dean last year was incredible for this football team. He was your green dot play caller, one of your vocal leaders in that locker room, had a breakout season in a Super Bowl season. He's very close with a lot of those former Georgia Bulldogs. Like, he's a big plus to this locker room and to this roster. He just simply got hurt. But in the NFL, you can get hurt and lose your job. Like, that's unfortunately just the reality. Nakobe Dean's not going to get his job back just because of the way he lost it. Jihaad Campbell is not going back to the bench, and he shouldn't. And also, when you look at it, Nakobe Dean is an unrestricted free agent next year. There's almost no way that the Eagles are giving him a contract extension. While Zach Bond, he's in his later 20s, they just signed him to an extension this year that pays him top 5 linebacker money. And he's, oh, by the way, having another first-team All-Pro start to his second season with the Eagles. Jihaad Campbell, like I said, you just drafted in the first round. He's the FanDuel betting favorite to win Rookie of the Year right now on defense. He's your future. Nakobe's not going to start. You're not going to pay him. So maybe if you want to add more depth at edge rusher with Nolan Smith being out and now Agbo Okunrakwo, maybe you want to add another cornerback. Like, would Seattle be interested in some Nakobe Dean for Reek Woolen kind of swap with picks involved too? I don't think Vic Fangio would want Reek Woolen, but maybe that's something Howie Roseman would consider. It's a better version of what you have already in Keely Ringo, in my opinion, is Reek Woolen in Seattle. Maybe you consider something like that. Because not only is he not going to start, he's not going to get paid, but you're also pretty deep at linebacker. Like, having Nakobe Dean as your third linebacker is just an abundance of riches. Like, it's a stupid luxury that you would have at a position the Eagles are normally paper thin at. But you have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. right now as your third linebacker, and I think he already could be a very high-floor TJ Edwards-like kind of starter for you. That's not a elite player, but he's not going to make a lot of mistakes. If Campbell or Zach Bond went down, knock on wood, if one of those two went down, I'm very confident that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. could be a plus starter for this defense, a guy that maybe you're not winning because of, but you're winning with. And you also have Smile Mondon, the Eagles rookie, who I really like his upside. So those are 4 inside linebackers that I believe in for this Eagles team that doesn't even include Nakobe Dean. So I don't think, unless they got an offer that just blew them away, I don't think the Eagles are going to want to trade Nakobe. He is such a good leader. He is incredible elite depth for this football team. Injuries have happened just like it did to Nakobe last year. Oren Burks was so good in that playoff run for this football team quietly. It earned him a contract in Cincinnati. I could see Howie Roseman saying, I'd rather have Dean as that Oren Burks type of guy that can also play on special teams right now, and we know what we have in him, and he's just a good locker room guy to have for the culture, then trade him away for a conditional pick and some other player. Maybe you could package him in for like a star edge rusher. Like, is this part of a Trey Hendrickson kind of package? Or maybe they really do like Reek Woolen or another cornerback that we're not thinking of, and they ship him off in that way. I think they should consider it. I would do it. Do I think they will do it, though? Probably not. But unfortunately, again, this is just the reality in the NFL. Nakobe's not going to play, and I see a lot of listeners, tweeting at me like, oh, they can play all 3 linebackers in base defense. They can move Jihaad Campbell to edge. They're not moving Jihaad Campbell to edge. Fangio's already said multiple times he doesn't think he's ready to be a full-time player there, and he's been an elite player at inside linebacker. Like, he's been a top 5 player at that position. You're not moving him. And there's no package really where they are going to use 3 linebackers. Like, that just, even for Fangio, who's Mr. Linebacker, you don't do that in the modern day NFL defense. Like, that's just not part of any scheme unless it's like in red zone situations. And I can't foresee that. So we'll see what happens. But I would consider trading him. Most people probably don't agree with that, but I would look into it at least. I don't think they will, but I would. Let me know what you think. Hit us up on X at LockdownBirds, at DiBiase, LOE. That's going to do it for today's edition of the show. Until tomorrow for Crossover Thursday, thanks so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Thanks as always for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.